Coming up in this edition of the Savage Sacktap. Getting blown by 5 Filipino chicks at once, but they steal your credit card and give you the clap. Is it worth it? I explain. You decide. Then, what's the proper response when your son finds pictures of you wearing a diaper and eating your own feces? According to a Colorado man, it's murder. Then, National Intern Day? Why is this a thing, and where is that little slut with my coffee? Then, we bid a fond farewell to the man who captured the hearts of a nation. All that and more in this edition of the Savage Sacktap.
You're listening to the Savage Sacktap. It's not a podcast, it's not a half-cast, it's just a quick shot to the balls to help you finish off the week. We're cutting through the bullshit, filling your Friday with rage-fueled logic, and cracking a few jokes along the way. So grab a bag of frozen peas. There's a Savage Sacktap coming your way.
Smooth, lascivious, salacious, outrageous.
Howdy, howdy, motherfuckers. It's Mike. Welcome to the Savage Sacktap. Here to inform, entertain, and probably offend. I got to speak with a very nice Indian man the other day. I wanted to tell you guys about this. My credit card, I guess, was fraudulently used at a Macy's in upstate New York while I was in Jersey City. So, of course, I got the text alerting me to the suspicious charge with a link to click. So I hopped online and called the 800 number because I refuse to click any link unless I absolutely know who it's coming from. And for all I know, this was like some Moldovan teenager trying to hack my phone, and I look at way too much porn on that thing to take that kind of risk. And I don't need some communist creep accessing my camera while I'm rubbing one out in the bathroom of a Starbucks during my lunch break, uploading it to masturbatingtwinks.ukraine. That would not be good for my already very soiled reputation. I called and a nice Indian man answered. He said, Yes, Mr. Monton, did you charge $167 on shoes and lingerie at a Macy's in upstate New York? And I said, No, absolutely not, Mr. Singh. I buy my G-strings at Victoria's Secret like a classy bitch. Upscale ass in this motherfucker. Anyway, they went ahead and axed the charges. That's why I use Amex everywhere, by the way, because if it's just a credit card that gets stolen, they'll just kill the charge. But if they get your fucking debit card, they can access your cash, and it's like a big pain in the ass getting it back. So fuck that. I think I don't know if I've told the story on the show before about the dude I was stationed with in Okinawa got ripped off by a group of hookers in Taipei. I had just gotten back to Okinawa from Iraq, literally just landed, and I get sent to the same unit as my old rack mate from OCS. To keep it anonymous, we'll refer to him as the Vag. If you know who he is, you know who he is, and if you don't know, you'll have no fucking clue, so simple enough, but he needs a name for the story, so we'll call him the Vag. Just to keep it anonymous. Anyway, me, the Vag, and 2 other guys go to Taipei, Taiwan for Thanksgiving. And if you've never been, Taipei attracts a fair amount of Europeans, Australians, and Americans doing the whole study abroad thing. And the Vag fancies himself a bit of a ladies' man. So anyway, he decides he's in the mood to hit on some co-eds, but he keeps getting shot down. And I am fucking exhausted from a super early PT session, then, have to get showered, get to the airport. I've been drinking all day, so I'm like, fuck it. I'm tapping out. And this guy starts calling me a pussy and mocking me in this. His voice was like this really, really irritating, high-pitched squeal. You fucking Montone. You're a fucking pussy. I'm fucking staying out here, man. I'm getting laid. You'll see. So I'm like, all right. Good luck, dude. I jump in a cab back to the hotel, get in bed, assuming that this idiot's going to strike out. So you have to imagine my shock when I wake up across the room from an empty bed and hear the door to the suite open, and out in the living room, the Vag begins regaling our buddy Bono with his tale. He also brought a young Asian woman back to the hotel with him. An Asian woman to whom he keeps repeating the phrase, You just fucked a future U.S. Senator. What do you think of that? Yeah, his voice really was that fucking irritating. Anyway, he then explained to Bono that he had just engaged in group intercourse with the young woman and several of her friends. Now, I was hungover as shit and in no mood to deal with this gloating motherfucker at that point. I also found the story to be highly dubious, and figured it would just be easier to get to the bottom of it with a clear head. Once you break out of that hangover, that's when I'll figure it out. So when the Vag burst into the bedroom and shouted, "You hear that, Montone? I had an orgy last night," I pretty much just pretended to be asleep. I know. Very, very passive-aggressive move, but, I was having a basic bitch moment. I couldn't even right now with him. Oh, Christ. Is that the Vag? I just can't even right now. I'm just gonna pretend to be asleep. I cannot even right now. I just can't. Alright? I need another hour of sleep. I just can't. Anyway, we eventually get up. We had to catch a tour bus to do some sightseeing, so we run across the street to grab some cash from the ATM for the day, and he is just telling and retelling the story about his orgy over and over, and just will not shut the future U.S. Senator. I got laid last night. Just will not shut the fuck up. We get to the ATM, and he tries several times unsuccessfully to withdraw cash. Finally, they're like, we're gonna eat, the machine's like, we're gonna eat your card if you try to fucking withdraw again. So he decides to call his bank. And that's when I saw the joy and glee of a man who had just engaged in a Pacific Rim pussy festival fade to the blank pale of a man who had just found out that he had been robbed of thousands of dollars by a group of Filipino hookers. You see, what happened is, after I left him at the bar, the Vag opened up a tab and was drinking by himself. And now you have to understand that the Vag is like the ultimate mark. He just stands out like a sore thumb to every charlatan and ne'er-do-well on the planet. He dresses like a father of three with a schooner and a summer home on Nantucket, and he looks like an alcoholic Andy Bernard managed to father a child with like Milhouse Van Houten. So plant that image in your head, and you have the Vag. His hair's not blue, but you know what I mean. Definitely the Milhouse of our group. Anyway, he's got a tab open at the bar, and this Filipino chick gets a couple free drinks out of him, and then, he thinks she's just, interested. So she leads him to some sort of boom-boom room with her friends, and they take turns filleting him as the bartender is just running up a tab at businesses all over town with the Vag's debit card. Fucking car dealerships, clothing stores, you name it, they fucking spent it. So I guess the Vag shoots his load and rides off into the night feeling just absolutely indestructible. Meanwhile, he's been burned in more ways than one. So the bank's like, yeah, you got robbed. And this happens in Taipei all the time. They were like, yeah, you got fucked, dude. There's not much we can do about it, but you got fucking burned. And even better was that we went back to a bar in the same neighborhood that night, and he runs into the very same hookers. They admitted it. They were like, you're not going to do shit. He screams at them. They laugh at him, and I made out with a Taiwanese chick named Abby Chen. It was great. She owned her own restaurant. She invited me the next day. I did not show up because I had different dinner plans. Anyway, we get back to Okinawa, and we had to spot him cash for the rest of the trip. But we're back on Oki, and he's got to wait a couple weeks for his new debit card to come in the mail. So we're all spotting him cash, which he's using. It was supposed to be for food and toiletries. He obviously goes out and spends it at the fucking bar. And then right around the time that the new card arrives, he also started to piss razor blades. So just couldn't have happened to a better person. I know, you shouldn't engage in too much schadenfreude, but I feel like that's the perfect amount. He eventually got his money back. USAA does have good anti-fraud. They'll pay you back if you get robbed. So basically, he wound up with an embarrassing story and a little bit of a case of the clap. So what are you gonna do? It worked out for him in the end, I guess. Anyway, he was an odd guy. This entire episode is actually going to be about odd guys. Talking about the Vag, our man the Mooch coming up later, and interns who are all fucking weirdos. But in particular, one weirdo I want to focus on, Mr. Mark Redwine. He murdered his son after the lad happened upon some disturbing pictures of his old man. That's coming up in a few minutes. First, though, I have to vent one more time about this fucking asshole in the locker room at Retro Fitness here in Hoboken. Now, there are a lot of assholes in the locker room at Retro, but this guy is like above and beyond the worst. He is just completely ignorant as to the concept of personal space. Now, I usually grab a locker that's as far away from everyone else as possible, like all the way at the end, tucked into a corner, because I usually shower and clean up at the gym before heading to work. Anyway, I'm there, taking my clothes off in the corner, getting ready to shower, and this fucking guy sidles right up to me and grabs the locker like 2 down from me. Checked the one next to mine, by the way. So he was going to go for it, but it happened to be locked or occupied or whatever. This was in a completely empty locker room. There were dozens of other options. He could have taken any other lock. He chose that one. That's like using an adjacent urinal, only worse. At least with the urinal, it's like a 30-second process and no one's really exposed. It's awkward, but it's not that awkward. I was literally getting ass naked, and this fucking guy posts up right next to me. Doesn't get changed, doesn't go to work out, mind, just fucking plops down, starts eating, and gets settled in to watch a movie on his phone. In the locker room at Retro Fitness. There isn't even air conditioning in there. It's just a humid, stinky, pube-filled environment, and this jackass has taken it upon himself to turn it into a Lowe's Cineplex. So I leave, I go shower for like 5-10 minutes, however long people take to fucking shower at the gym. I get out, and he's still out there. I can literally hear the sound of his spoon hitting plastic, like he's trying to get every last drop. This lunatic was savoring his locker room pube meal. Like, what the actual fuck? So, I figure he's got to be, like, almost done. So, I dry off by the shower, and I figure by the time I get back, back to the locker, he'll be done and gone. Oh, boy was I mistaken. I walk out in nothing but a towel, and he, like, begrudgingly moves his picnic a whole 3 inches so I can access my locker, and then continues watching Guardians of the Galaxy, or whatever the fuck he had going on his phone, and then starts peeling a banana. He was consuming a multi-course meal in the locker room. And I know maybe you're thinking, maybe he's a student, or he's on his break from work, he doesn't have anywhere else to eat. First of all, every Retro Fitness has a designated area out front where you can sit down, fire back a quick snack, drink a shake, whatever you gotta do. So he chose to ignore that. Secondly, it's fucking Hoboken, and it was like a beautiful day. So he could have walked a block to the waterfront and eaten his meal with a spectacular view of the New York City skyline. I mean, people literally pay extra to dine at restaurants on the Hudson River so they can observe this skyline while eating. And this fucking creep decides to eat in the cock and anus-filled locker room at Retro Fitness. So, I did the only thing there was left to do. Right? If he wanted to dine in a sack and rectum-filled environment, then that was exactly what he was going to get. I drop trow, guns and buns fucking blazing 2 feet away from this motherfucker. And he was completely unfazed. Did not even flinch. There was male anus 24 inches away as he's snacking, and it, didn't even register. Check fucking mate. I don't even know what to do next time. I guess I gotta give farting a shot, and if that doesn't work, I don't know, slip some rat poison into his Greek yogurt? I feel like that would pass as a pretty justifiable homicide, right? I need get me a lawyer. Shoot me a line on Facebook. Is that justifiable homicide? Fill us in, please. Speaking of justifiable homicide, we are going to talk about the guy whose son found pictures of him wearing a diaper and eating his own shit. And, he killed that boy. But first, the social media plug. You can find us on Facebook. It's facebook.com/thesavagecrew. On Instagram, it is @Gary_Moiler. And on Twitter, you can track me down @Mike Montone and @TheSavageCrew. We also have a YouTube channel. Search the Savage Sacktap and click on one of the big penis silhouettes. That'll take you over there. And now I think, as they say, it is time to get down to the nitty-gritty. We have a bit of disturbing news here. 1 second. Gonna go ahead and crack open a digital copy of The Sun here. That's how you know it's a reputable story, if it runs in The Sun. Dylan Redwine, 13, mysteriously vanished in November 2012 during a visit to see his father in Colorado, USA. And they have a couple of subheads here. Perhaps this one will offer a better explanation for the young boy's disappearance. A dad has been accused of murdering his son after the teen allegedly found compromising snaps showing him wearing nappies and eating poo. Ah yes, the old "I killed my son because he found a picture of me wearing a diaper and feasting on shit" routine. Tale as old as time, really. The boy's remains were discovered scattered in the mountains of southwestern Colorado 7 months later. You know you've come to a horrific end when they find your scattered remains. Like, your best case scenario there is a wolf attack or plane crash, which, if we're being totally honest, is still way, way better than being murdered by your father because you found pictures of him in a fucking diaper with a mouthful of his own poop. Mark Redwine was arrested last week in Bellingham, Washington, in connection with the death, and Dylan's brother Corey has now come forward to say that he and his siblings saw lewd photos of their dad carrying out a series of bizarre acts before his death. That is, what's that? According to ABC7 reports. The brothers have been planning to confront their father over what they had seen, according to the website. Corey here, they say Corey is quoted as saying, "I have seen the photos. It shows him wearing women's clothes and makeup and a diaper and then eating his feces from the diaper." Jesus. It was disgusting. We couldn't believe it. Well, that's an understatement. Jesus. This guy's gonna need the fucking dream team to get acquitted. If his mouth's full of shit, you must acquit. We shouldn't be making jokes about the horrific murder of a child at the hands of his father, but we're going to. Anyway, the boy's mother, Elaine, said on a podcast in 2015 that she believed her son might have said something to her ex which sent him into a rage. Yeah. He may have said something that just didn't sit well with Mark, and Mark reacted in a very violent way. Obviously, Dylan is no longer here. Yes, something that didn't sit well. Perhaps something along the lines of, "Dad, we need to talk. I found those pictures of you dressed as an infant eating your own feces." No. Not from college. They were pretty new. Instagram said they were posted like 2 weeks ago. It says here, the parents had gone through a contentious divorce and custody battle before their son's death, which Mark Redwine has always denied involvement in. I guess divorce there is kind of a given, right? Can't really be a missionary position under the covers with lights off kind of gal if you're married to a guy who likes to dress up as Stewie Griffin and dine on duty. But, hey, how does that relationship even take off anyway? And not like, oh, we dated for a few weeks and then I found out he had an infantilized scat fetish. These two were together long enough to have a teenage and 12-year-old son, and it somehow never came out that Mark Redwine found their sex life to be just a tad too vanilla. I feel like for the sake of full disclosure and just to avoid this kind of, messy situation in the future, it just seems like maybe you should put that in your Match.com profile. Like, hobbies, fishing, collecting baseball cards, going to farmers markets, and chowing down on homemade Nutella while wearing Depends. Jesus. It says, the boy had reluctantly traveled to be with his father for a court-ordered visit Jesus, what the fuck is wrong with me? The boy had reluctantly traveled to be with his father for a court-ordered visit the previous Thanksgiving. Well, yeah. I guess he was worried about what was going to be served as a side dish, like, hey, Dad, what's in the stuffing? It tastes a little nutty. Nothing like a nice homemade meal around the holidays. Surveillance video from the airport where Dylan's flight arrived shows little or no interaction between the boy and his father, according to the indictment. Yeah, I guess it's kind of tough to look Dad in the face after you've found out that he spends his spare time devouring mounds of his own shit. Like you're looking back on your childhood and realizing that all those times he showed up late for your Little League games, it might be because he was at some stranger's house, just filling his Pampers with mounds of last night's Mexican food, and getting his picture taken while enjoying the leftovers. This is fucked up. Several witnesses said Dylan did not want to visit his father after the two argued and fought during his previous visit. Christ, I used to bitch about going to the dentist when I was growing up. At least everyone at Dr. Finster's office had a nice clean mouth. Ooh, oh my. Mr. Redwine and his wife made an appearance on Dr. Phil, and this is Dr. Phil kind of blows. I'm gonna blow the whole thing open, okay? Mr. Redwine, I think you're eating duty. I think you got caught wearing a diaper, eating duty, and I think you murdered your son. I don't know. I don't know that that's what Dr. Phil said, but we'll check out this quick clip.
And the point is that you know the truth?
I know that I don't have Dylan. Where is Dylan?
I don't have Dylan.
You know where Dylan is, Mark. You were the last one to see him. You were the last one to have any contact with him. He was on your watch. Where is the responsibility? When do you sit back and say, I lost Dylan?
I didn't lose Dylan, Elaine.
Then why is he gone?
Well, that's a question we all have to ask, but nobody's got the answer.
No, you have to ask that question. You had him. Where is he? He's not here. No one can find him. You were the last one to see him, and now he's just gone. That doesn't happen.
Dr. Phil, for her to sit here and say that I'm the last person to see him is not accurate. The postal worker that delivers my mail to me
that's never been confirmed
by you.
Let me weigh in here. I've been doing this for a long time, and you heard me say I've got one agenda.
I agree.
Here, and that's to try to find this young boy. And I have no preconceived judgments here at all. I don't know you. I don't know whether you had anything to do with this or not. I certainly don't assume that you did, but I also don't assume that you did not. I don't know that you did. I don't assume that you did not. I just don't jump to those conclusions. But I'll tell you what I do is I make informed decisions based on skilled observations. I've been doing this for 35 years. And I was trained as a forensic psychologist. That's psychology in the law.
Okay.
And having worked as an officer of the court in situations just such as these, and I am accustomed to what is typical conduct and what is not. And so I gather information based on that, and I'm curious whether you're interested in fighting with her and blaming her, or if you're interested in finding your son. Because since you've been out here, you haven't said one word about your son. Are you interested in finding your son?
Very much so, which is the whole point of me being here.
Jesus, he looks like Dan Marino with a Burt Reynolds mustache. And here's Mr. Reynolds he's actually trying to blame his wife for the murder, and Dr. Phil is, I am not buying a goddamn fucking ounce of it. Okay, now you need to tell me the truth.
I think either he was taken by somebody that knew who he was going with, or he was abducted as he was walking down the street trying to make it to his friend Tristan's house. I personally have a lot of suspicions that Elaine could be involved in this, but I don't have anything to back that up, and I don't have anything to support that.
Do you honestly believe that from 6 hours away that she put him on an airplane and flew him to you, and then somehow or another trailed behind and abducted him from your couch? Is that your theory?
Well, I don't believe that she did it alone. I believe that it's possible that she had helped do that.
Okay, so you actually think that she and a team trailed behind him, and do you think she would have taken him against his will? Or do you think he cooperated in this?
Well, those are questions that I can't answer because I don't know. I don't know what happened here.
But what is your theory? You say you think she may be involved.
I suspect that she may be involved. I believe that there are people in the community that we lived in for many years that she knows very well that are very likely to maybe help her in this.
So these are criminal types?
Well, she's not been known to hang around the professional people that in the industry that she works in.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
She very much
so you think
hangs around the criminal types.
Okay, so you think she may have some criminal types that helped her abduct him against his will? I just want to know your theory.
Well, I don't know the people that she knows very closely. It doesn't matter what I think because I have no way of being able to prove it, and it's only speculative that I even feel that way.
But do you really honestly believe that, or is that just something you're saying? I mean, do you honestly in your heart of hearts believe that this woman is involved in the disappearance of your son?
I believe that it's possible.
Christ, man. It is a bold move to kill your son because he found your fetish photos and then go on national TV. To sit on Dr. Phil's couch and accuse your wife of using her connections to the criminal underworld to arrange a hit squad to take out a preteen over Thanksgiving break. Bold move. And then we have, it's the local news got into the story a bit as well.
Within the past hour, our own Jacqueline Allen spoke with Dylan's half-brother, Corey. He's making some disturbing claims. He says he has seen compromising photos that Dylan had of his father cross-dressing, even eating his own feces. Mark Redwine could spend the rest of his life in prison if convicted of Dylan's murder. A former FBI profiler who has reviewed this case also tells our own Jacqueline Allen that he has no doubt that Mark Redwine killed his son, but the question everyone's struggling with is still why.
We're talking about a guy that's probably a registered psychopath, narcissist.
A former FBI profiler now writing a textbook on violent crime, Pete Klismet says he has Mark Redwine's number.
Is there any doubt in your mind that Mark Redwine killed his son?
No.
La Plata investigators hired Klismet in 2015 to review the evidence in the disappearance of Dylan Redwine. After 3 months of digging, he says the evidence pointed to one person.
I simply wanted to look at everything I could look at and try to figure out who did this. And it was an inescapable conclusion that it was Mark.
Court records reveal investigators found Dylan Redwine's blood in his father's living room. A cadaver dog alerted in that same room and in his truck. Most bizarre, the indictment says Dylan had seen compromising photos of his father and planned to confront him.
Could that have caused Mark to go into a rage with his son yelling at him, perhaps? It may.
If that is what provoked Mark Redwine, Klismet says, it will come out in court, where he hopes there will be justice for Dylan at last.
Do they have a strong case?
Oh, yeah, I believe they've got a strong case.
Mark Redwine, 17-1.
There's no question in my mind that this case will go to trial. Mark will not plead guilty because he's a narcissist. He believes he can lie his way out of anything.
And, of course, that's Jacqueline Allen. Now, we did ask Pete Clismet about the mathematical probability of Dylan Redwine being kidnapped. He said the likelihood's close to 0. Jacqueline.
You know, you watch the videos and you see the pictures, and the thing that gets me about this guy is he likes to eat his own shit, but he's got this bushy thatch of facial hair. The two, they just seem incompatible. Like socks and sandals, oil and water. Not a good match. Like if you have a hairy ass and you wipe some toilet paper through it, you know, you get a few hangers, some dingleberries. Tough to get those out. This guy is going face first into big piles of shit, and he has opted to keep his facial hair. So when you look at this guy's face, and I know you're going to look up Mark Redwine, realize that every wisp of hair is coated in microscopic particles of shit. I'll give you one last clip from the local news until I kind of get into my theory here. Here's one last clip from the Colorado local news.
Verse 7's Jacqueline Allen spoke with Corey tonight, who explains in graphic detail what those photos show and what Dylan planned to do.
He's just a sick person, and he's fine with being that person.
From the very beginning, Corey Redwine has been convinced his own father killed his little brother.
We didn't know what the outcome would be, but we've always known that Mark was in some way, shape, or form involved in this.
The indictment states Dylan Redwine had seen compromising pictures of Mark Redwine and planned to confront him. Later, the indictment states those photos provoked a violent response from Mark Redwine.
Have you seen the photos?
I've seen them.
Corey says the photos involve Mark eating his own feces, but Corey believes those photos were just the beginning of a confrontation.
I think Dylan had a lot more than just pictures that he wanted to get across to Mark.
Mark Redwine's arrest is bittersweet for Corey, who wants justice for the brother he lost, but has also lost whatever relationship he might have had with his father.
I'm sad that I've ever had to go through this, that Dylan had to go through this, and that, you know.
Stories like this always kind of make me think of guys like Hitler or Bin Laden. And not because of the evil or heinousness of the act, although, you know, I guess that too. But this Mark Redwine, he of the shit-eating grin. There was a time when you, me, everyone listening was on the same plane as Mark Redwine. Just a newborn baby, fresh out of the womb. Somehow, in his decades on Earth, he went from being a blank sheet of paper to a guy staring down the barrel at life in prison because he murdered his own son after he found pictures, or after his son found pictures of him wearing a diaper, eating his own shit. That doesn't happen overnight. Like, that takes steps to get to. Again, like Hitler. The history books kind of pick up his story when he took over the German government, but even his tale goes back even farther. So what the fuck happened with Mark Redwine? I'm assuming it had to be something with his childhood, right? Like maybe he was starving one day, 2 years old, with he's hungry and he's got a diaper full of shit. He's emptied his bowels and now he is ready to refill them. Crying for his mommy. Mommy! Mommy! Just begging to be changed and fed, but to no avail. So he takes his first steps, with no one around to witness them, toddles his way into his mother's boudoir, and finds her being photographed by a man with a beard in various states of undress. Now, that would have been something that he couldn't possibly comprehend at the time, but that early blend of eroticism, beards, diapers, shit, photography, and insatiable hunger may very well have laid the framework for a life of deviance and murder. Well, what then? He grows up, goes off to university, perhaps dips his toe in the dating pool, but for reasons he just can't put a finger on, it feels as though something is just missing. A certain emptiness, a void left by desires unfulfilled. In search of a normal life, he takes a bride and starts a family, but still, the void remains. Life goes on, and one day he gets himself an internet connection. Maybe some pals at work tell him about Pornhub. Maybe he discovers it for himself. That's not important. The point is, he has been exposed to a world of sensual delights that he never knew existed, and it sucks him in. Minutes online turn into hours, hours into days, days seep into nights, and all of a sudden, Mark Redwine is combing the deepest, darkest recesses of the internet for that perfect clip, the one that will bring him to the apex of orgasmic bliss. And that's when it happens. He finds a category he's never seen before, something different, something German. Did you say Hitler? No! I said scat. Shit everywhere. Shit's being taken. Shit's being eaten. Shit being played with. All this for his viewing enjoyment. And then he feels it. An erection like he has never had before. He sits crouched over his keyboard, in front of the family desktop, hard cock in hand. It's the greatest erection he's ever had. Mere seconds go by before he's pumping semen all over his abdomen, belly button dripping with his own seed. Redwine sits back, relaxed, completely unaware that a butterfly has emerged from its cocoon. Life will never again be the same. It's not long, I guess, before his wife notices that Redwine's grown distant from the family, immersed in a sort of preoccupation. But with what, she wonders? She can't put her finger on it, but she knows something's up. It's only when she installs a special tracking software on the family PC that she discovers his shocking secret. Her husband, Mark Redwine, is a scat lover. So of course the marriage dissolves, and Redwine uses his newfound freedom to exercise his fetish. He trolls message boards, signs up for Adult Friend Finder, fills his pantry with Metamucil. Date night as a married man meant dabbing on some aftershave and heading to the movies. Now date night begins by laying a tarp on the living room floor. Mark Redwine is single as fuck and loving it. One day he meets a photographer on Tinder. A like-minded gal, fond of similar kinks. They head back to her place for a glass of prune juice and passion takes over. She excuses herself for a moment and heads off to the bedroom, returning moments later with her camera and a pair of Depends. Unable to control himself, Redwine shits everywhere. The kitchen floor, the living room, the dining room, all covered in steaming turds. He couldn't control his rectum. In the scat community, it's tantamount to premature ejaculation. But hoping to save face, he quickly changes into the adult diapers and begins feasting on his own turds. Without a word, his date begins snapping pictures of Redwine in a compromising pose. It goes on for hours until the pair reach mutual orgasm together, a crescendo the likes of which hasn't been seen since Pompeii was covered in ash eons ago. Redwine is hooked. His sole desire in life is now to be photographed while clad in a diaper and devouring his own shit. Things will never again be the same. Children are a nosy breed, though, and it's not long before the photos are found. Wary about what will be served at Thanksgiving dinner, son confronts father, sending Redwine into a murderous rage. In a moment of intense anger, Redwine grabs his son, beats him unconscious with a plunger before shoving wad after wad of toilet paper down his throat, suffocating the boy and finishing the job in a most ironic manner. The deed was done. And now he's looking at a hefty fucking prison sentence. I guess the good news for Mr. Redwine is that, like, nobody in jail is going to want to go anywhere near his anus. Right? Like, you catch him in the shower, and he's like, I'll show you forcible sodomy. You start fucking him in the ass, he just starts shitting all over the place, and then he turns around and starts, like, licking it off the shower floor. Dude, name me one gangbanger or fucking Aryan Brotherhood motherfucker that's gonna waste their time raping that guy. To be totally honest, assuming he can get one of those wacko prison pen pal chicks to send him some diapers and a disposable camera, he might actually be able to turn it into a pretty enjoyable few decades. Anyway, that was fucking intense. I want to do more of that often, where I just get down and I want to look at the psyche behind a bizarre crime, hopefully with a guest next time. Anyway, couple things left on the agenda this week. I want to pay tribute to the dearly departed Anthony Scaramucci, but first, I'd like to discuss a little something that caught my eye last week, a little something called National Intern Day, and here's how they describe it on the interwebs. National Intern Day, held on the last Thursday of July, is a day where interns across the country are celebrated for their hard work and dedication to the companies they work for. Get to that in a sec, because I don't even know where to start with this one. First of all, why is everything a day now? Like in the month of January alone, just looking at the calendar, there's a compliment day, a handwriting day, and a thesaurus day. I don't know why we need any of this shit, to be totally honest. Like, the only people who care about these national days are shitty morning radio DJs. Like, and if you find yourself at a loss for words this morning, don't fret, because it's National Thesaurus Day. Fuck you. And, like, annoyingly chipper coworkers, like, oh, great shirt, Todd. Say thanks, Rebecca. Love that brooch. Haha, thanks! Happy National Compliment Day! Oh. You know, shit like that just makes me root for workplace shootings. Just cleanse the office population a little bit. But of all these stupid fucking days, and there's Carrot Cake Day, Send a Card to a Friend Day. Isn't that just their birthday? When your friends send you cards? Toothache Day. Why are we celebrating toothache? Is it a show of solidarity with people suffering from toothaches? Just put some fucking Orajel on it and be done with it. Or are we celebrating the toothache itself? Which makes even less sense. Play your ukulele day. I play the old ukulele like twice a day already, if you know what I mean. But of all of these ridiculous, just stupid, superfluous, unnecessary days, National Intern Day may be the dumbest of all. Well, that day without a woman stunt they pulled a little while back, and Equal Pay Day are certainly up there. But then comes National Intern Day. Why the fuck are we celebrating interns? I was an intern. I've been an intern I have three semesters of internship under my belt. There is no reason to be celebrating interns. They show up hungover. They pick up iced coffee for everyone. They spend the overwhelming majority of their day texting and making plans for happy hour. They get money, academic credit, and future career connections in exchange for what is essentially a complete lack of effort. These people do not need or deserve a day to be recognized. They're fucking millennials. They're recognized for something stupid every day. They work 8 to 10 weeks before leaving to go back to their little fantasy world of drugs, sleeping in, and casual sex on campus. Why the fuck are they getting a day? How about a day to suck my dick and get me another cup of coffee? Cream and cinnamon, no sugar. Stupid millennial fucks. Just what a fucking waste of a generation. And the sad thing is, the majority of them really aren't worth the paper their diplomas or their hate speech protest placards are printed on. Christ fuck. Here's how you get me to agree to National Intern Day. Let us sexually harass them again. We had a fantastic thing going there until Ken Starr fucked it all up. And I'm not saying I want to cum on anyone's dress. I mean, I don't not want to cum on a dress. I'll jizz on pretty much anything, to be totally honest. A dress, a skirt, pair of panties, bra, just give it to me. I'll fucking cum all over it. But not in the workplace, because we have an open seating plan, and that would be tough to pull off with any degree of discretion. But I'm just I'm just saying, the wolf wants to hunt, you know what I mean? It's bad enough I can't sit in the office puffing Camels and throwing back belts of scotch while I plan world domination like back in the old days, but come on. Like an ass cheek squeeze here or there, maybe a nice casual boner graze by the copy machine, oh yeah. Something for me to recall wistfully when I'm cruising Pornhub later on. How have we not arrived at that as a middle ground yet? You ask me, Monica Lewinsky is the absolute only intern in workplace history who actually deserves a day of recognition. The providing Bill with the blowjobs he so desperately needed after putting up with the Crooked Hillary's shit all day. Forget Harriet Tubman. They should be putting old blowjob Lips Lewinsky on the $5 bill. I mean, why not, right? She's already been on a 5-inch bill. Oh, that was awful. Speaking of the Oval Office and fellatio, Anthony Scaramucci. Scaramouche, can you do the fandango? He'll have plenty of time to practice because he is out. I guess General Kelly probably gave him the boot for being a loose cannon, which I guess is fair if you're trying to run a government. But General Kelly, sir, I say this with all due respect and semper fi in my heart, how fucking dare you? That man was going to be the entertainment America needed in Sean Spicer's absence. The Mooch and the Donald, side by side, draining the swamp, building the wall, telling reporters that Steve Bannon has gotten so good at yoga that he can finally suck his own cock. Oh, it would have been absolutely glorious. Just fucking guns blazing. They would have been like Goose and Maverick. It would have been fucking perfect. Ugh. And now we get, instead we get Pauly Shore doing Stephen Miller impersonations. Yeah, great. Banana. Trick of the day. I think that's it. I think that's all I have for this week. As I mentioned before, I am very much interested in opening the show up to more guests. I've had a few on in the past. If you listen to the Christmas special, we had that one. I've had my sisters come on. I've had my girlfriend on. My brother's been on here. We've had Mr. Anderson from Georgia has joined. He's a friend of the show. He's been on before, as has Jimmy from Philly. You've heard a few of you have made appearances in the voicemail section as well. So there is room for guests. I'm looking at Diego, my libertarian buddy, is supposed to be coming in Friday. We're gonna talk a little bit about campus free speech. Actually, this will probably be out and published by the time I record that one. So you should look for that as well. But if you think you're interesting and you'd like to be featured in an episode of the Savage Sacktap, go ahead, shoot us a message on Facebook. It's facebook.com/thesavagecrew. I check that thing like once every couple days. So if you message me and I don't respond immediately on there, it's because I don't check that all the time. I try to make a point not to check it from my phone. Otherwise, I'm just glued to it 24/7, and that sucks. You can also reach me on Twitter. I'm a huge fan of Twitter, at Mike Montone, and we'll see what we can do. Oh, and since I'm plugging social media, don't forget our Instagram is Gary_Moiler. Before we go, I just want to pay tribute to one of the great political figures of our time, a man whose shining light burned out far too soon, Anthony Scaramucci. The Mooch, we hardly knew ye.
Another hack politician.
Call Donald Trump a hack?
He's a hack politician. He's probably going to make Elizabeth Warren his vice presidential nominee. And you know what? The politicians don't want to go at Trump because he's got a big mouth and he's afraid he's going to light him up on Fox News and all these other places. But I'm not a politician. Bring it.
All right, so why is he resonating? Why is he resonating?
Dude from Queens County. Bring it, Donald. I'll tell you who he's going to be president of. You can tell Donald I said this. The Queens County Bullies Association. I don't like the way he talks about women. I don't like supporting another candidate. I should have never said that about him. So, Mr. President, if you're listening, I personally apologize for the 50th time for saying that. But here's the wonderful thing about the news media. That was 3 minutes of my life. He's never forgotten it, and you've never forgotten it.
But you're not letting me finish. I just move on to something else, though, which is...
I didn't say that. I said I'm not...
You said you don't know, and I'm saying the scientific community does.
But you're saying that you do, and you're saying the scientific community knows, and I'm saying people have gotten things wrong throughout the 5,500-year history of our planet. 72% of the United States thinks that we're going in the wrong direction. And if you look at his mandate, 306 electoral votes, 2,600 counties that he won, the most counties won since Ronald Reagan for a Republican president. I think that he's got the mandate, and he's going to come to Washington and disrupt things. You guys want to focus on
Anthony.
You guys want to focus on the conflicts of interest, and I get that.
There's no mandate there.
Topic.
There's no mandate there.
Hillary,
he won.
The
He won the
Republicans have trounced the
presidency.
Democrats.
He won
It's the
the
worst
presidency
Democratic
fair and
position
square.
since 1920.
He won the presidency fair and square with the Electoral College. There is no mandate when you lose the popular vote by more than 2.3 million votes. And by the way, I know that is something that really raises the ire of the president-elect, because that is another thing that he tweeted about, and it's an outright lie. And when you have the president-elect tweeting outright lies, what kind of president of the United States are we going to have when he doesn't understand that his words can move markets, his words can start wars? And the outright lie is that millions of people illegally voted for Hillary Clinton. That is an outright
He's basing that
lie.
commentary on Pew Research. There are many people.
Okay, so a lie, Anthony. Dylan, watch this.
Dylan, I know you're upset about the
It's a lie.
election, but let's have a civil discourse between each other. It's very far from a lie.